Oh, I'm flossing. Tell little bitch get up. Hit it once, had a feeling nauseous.
And welcome back. It's JJ Buckets. You know where you are. And we're here to talk NBA playoffs again. So this time around, I thought I'd have an interesting conversation about, who the playoff MVP is. And there's been some excellent candidates for, players that have been playing really well this postseason, some fantastic performances. But you know what? Kawhi Leonard has really set himself apart in this discussion, at least in my eyes. And granted, I may be a little biased as a Raptors fan, but I think he has a pretty good argument. And I know this isn't an actual award. Finals MVP is the only thing that really exists as an award for the playoffs. But you know what? I think it's always an interesting discussion to have about who the playoff MVP is. The guy that's been doing it all postseason long. And right now, I think without a doubt, it is Kawhi Leonard. Now, he had a good season in the regular season this year. A season mainly that had to do with load management. And it's that's been like a popular phrase in Toronto for those who don't know. In terms of Kawhi's situation, in terms of, keeping him healthy for the playoffs, making sure that, that injury that he was coming back from, he was never really too bothered by it, and making sure he was just kind of fresh constantly. And that load management, still resulted in a pretty damn good season for Kawhi. He averaged 26.6 points per game, 7.3 rebounds per game, had 3.3 assists per game as well, shot on a pretty decent clip to 49.6% from the field, 37% from downtown, and he had a pretty good PER, 25.8. So he turned in a good season for sure. There were times early on where people are maybe talking about him a little bit in the MVP race, but obviously with what Giannis and what James Harden did, he just kind of got blown out of the water, which is kind of fair. Giannis and Harden both had a ridiculous season, but we're not here to talk about the regular season. We're here to talk about the postseason. And for the postseason, his uptick, in those categories has been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I think the efficiency is what really jumps out to me when I look at his numbers, but let's run through them all. So again, listening to some of those same stats, his scoring is up from 26.6 to 31.2 points per game. He's averaging 8.2 rebounds per game, which is more than the regular season number. He even has a slight increase in assists per game, 3.5. The field goal percentage, as I said, is what's really impressive here in terms of the efficiency. 57.4 field goal percentage from the field, 46.6 three-point percentage. His PER is up to 31.7, which is a phenomenal number for PER. And his effective field goal percentage has jumped nearly a full 100. It's at 64.4%, up from 54.6 in the regular season. It's actually it's insane. It mind boggles me that's increased that much. And his efficiency and his scoring this postseason has been phenomenal. It has been through the roof for a Raptors team that has desperately needed it at times. This Raptors team, if you've been following the channel, we've talked about the offense, and their offense just has been spotty. It hasn't been great at times. It's been hot and cold. It's come and gone, and Kawhi's reliability in that department has been very much so needed for a team that has struggled to maybe find third, fourth, fifth options in scoring consistently. You've had Pascal there, and he's had a good postseason too in terms of scoring and production, but Kawhi Leonard has really been the consistent driving force time and time again for this offense. He's shown up in times where the Raptors have really needed him to put up points. He even dropped his playoff career high this postseason with 45, and he's been everything the doctor asked for on the offensive end for the Raptors. And now, obviously, he's doing this coupled with his phenomenal defensive play, which has led the way for the Raptors. Number one unit in the postseason. They have the best net rating on the defensive end, and I think a large part of that can be attributed to Kawhi and his stellar defense. He's really taken it to his matchups in the second round in particular. Ben Simmons has gotten loads of trouble from Kawhi when he's been guarding him. And even Jimmy Butler, when he's gotten the switch where Kawhi's been guarding him, Butler has had a good series against the Raptors, but he's noticeably, finds it harder to find his offense when he's guarded by Kawhi, as most people would be, But, Kawhi, as we said, is not the only person having a great postseason. Obviously, there's other guys you can talk about as well. Kevin Durant has been fantastic, obviously. He's leading the postseason points per game with 35.4, which is a phenomenal clip. And his scoring has just been otherworldly for that Warriors team. But it's kind of easy to see why you would remove a guy like Kevin Durant from the postseason MVP discussion. Sure, he's been phenomenal. Sure, you might even say he's the best player on the planet right now. But it's hard to be the MVP surrounded by 3 other stars, 2 of them, or at least one of them, superstars. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Obviously, Boogie Cousins is out at the moment, but nonetheless, you get the point there. And James Harden, he's had a good postseason too, but again, comparing Harden and Leonard in this postseason, Harden is averaging 0.1 points per game more if we're really focusing on the scoring here. But he is shooting at a way less effective percentage from the field, and I think that really shows the difference between these two in the postseason, especially when obviously Harden's not going to give you that phenomenal defense that Kawhi is giving. And there's other candidates as well. You can bring up Damian Lillard, but you can kind of use a lot of the same talking points that you would for James Harden for Dame Lillard as well. You can bring up Giannis Antetokounmpo, who has honestly been fantastic, averaging 28 and 12, but he's surrounded, I think, on a better suited Milwaukee team in terms of support than Kawhi is on Toronto. And don't get me wrong, it's not to slander some of the pieces that are in Toronto, but I think Giannis just has a more favorable situation. And even still, he's got the great rebounding clip, but Kawhi's got about 3 points per game on him, just a little bit less. And what Kawhi's doing just seems more impressive and more important for his Raptors team. Jokic is another guy you can bring up again. He's averaging, close to a triple-double in this postseason, and I think he would actually be one of the other leading candidates for playoff MVP if you ask me. But again, he doesn't give you the two-way prowess that Kawhi gives you. Sure, he's giving you a fantastic all-around game, but that Nuggets team, despite being young, has a lot of, really good pieces on it that, play their way as well. But for Kawhi, it's not as much about the numbers, which it definitely is. The numbers are phenomenal, but to rephrase that, it's as much about the intangibles as it is about the statistics in this case. And for Kawhi Leonard, his leadership, going out there, leading by example on the court, has just given the Raptors a whole new dynamic, a whole new life that they never really had in the past. They have a new mentality, they have new grit, new resolve, and new determination. He's such a calming force at that superstar role that you never got from a guy like, I hate to throw him under the bus, but from a guy like DeMar DeRozan. Kawhi Leonard has been just the definition of a two-way star that lets us play, do the talking. And you look at just some of the key moments here, in this series specifically against the Sixers that really show you what Kawhi Leonard is all about. Down 2-1 to Philadelphia with Pascal Siakam being in doubt to play, ends up coming out in the court obviously, but Kawhi is really the story from that game because Siakam really couldn't do much with his calf injury, and you can tell. So Kawhi Leonard goes up there, has a huge game, hits that big 3 late to kind of really seal it, or to really give the Raptors motivation, in terms of being able to close out that game. He's been clutch, he's been fantastic, he's stepped up when he needed to in that game, and he sent the series back to Toronto tied to a piece. Versus, I think I've never really seen DeMar have that kind of mentality in the playoffs, and it's a really stark contrast to what you see DeMar was like, say, against LeBron in the whole infamous LeBronto series, and moments where it seemed like DeMar gave up on the team. Kawhi Leonard goes out there and does it himself, takes matters into his own hands and says, we're gonna win this on my shoulders. And you know, as much as that game is telling, the game right after as well is just so telling of just the changed mentality of this team. You know, you have a crucial game 5 against the Philadelphia team that's easily probably one of the other best teams in the Eastern Conference outside of yourself and Milwaukee. And you go out there and you beat them by a franchise record high 36-point playoff margin of victory in a huge game 5. That's the kind of thing that I think makes Kawhi Leonard the MVP of this postseason. At worst, one of the 2-3 best candidates for this hypothetical award here. You know, it's the fact that, yes, his numbers look great. They look fantastic. They look phenomenal. His playoffs, you know, have been great. The efficiency is through the roof, and he's giving offense to a team that really needs it while playing some of the best defense of any individual player. But on top of that, it's the change mentality for Toronto. It's the fact that you have a superstar player that's going to go out there and lead the way consistently and give you a reliable, just calming presence that you never got from DeMar DeRozan. I'm going to straight up put it there because that's the obvious comparison. He has just filled such a void, and he has shown the Raptors what it's like to have a true superstar on this team. And he's guided the way this postseason. And if they will reach the NBA Finals, it'll be on the efforts of Kawhi's fantastic playoff MVP campaign. I think that more or less does it for me. Do you disagree with me? Do you think another guy is the hypothetical playoff MVP? Do you think it's KD? Do you think it's Giannis, Jokic? Whoever you think it is, if you disagree with me, let me know below in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with me? If you do, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. And other than that, peeps, we are out.